Hello again. So welcome to my channel one more time. So we are going to talk about and continue Black Moon Lilith in Sign series. And this time we have the popular Black Moon Lilith in Leo. So with me, I have Natasha. So thank you so much, Natasha, for being here.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you so much. It's lovely to be here. I'm so excited to talk about Black Moon Lilith and go deep.
Yeah, exactly. And before we go into Black Moon Lilith, I will share your links as well. But can you also introduce yourself for the viewers who might see you
Yes,
for the first time?
of course. Hello, everybody. I'm Natasha Weber. I'm often referred to as Astrotash online. I'm the resident astrologer of the morning show here in Australia and also Channel 7 News. And I am the horoscope columnist for Marie Claire Australia and also for Mamma Mia, which is Australia's #1 female website. So I'm kept very busy with my work, but what I do love to do is to research always and chat to other astrologers about, going a little bit deeper than the sun sign astrology. And speaking of, I actually have, am I allowed to plug my book now, Matt? Is that
Sure,
okay?
sure, of
Um,
course.
my latest, most cherished project is my book. It's called Your Celestial Compass: Astrology for Self-Discovery and Empowerment. And it's basically a journey through your astrological blueprint to help you gain greater self-awareness through your birth chart placements, specifically the sun signs, because I really believe that, these are the fundamental core principles, the zodiac signs. And so I've unpacked in a very relatable, accessible, easy to understand speak, the zodiac signs, also the moon and the moon signs, the moon phase that you're born under, which also lends itself to your personality and your life experiences. And you can read the book and layer up pieces of yourself to help you understand yourself better. And then in the second part of the book, I do go into navigating life cycles, covering off every age in a person's life according to their Uranus cycle, the Saturn returns and the second Saturn returns. Of course, I had to include a chapter on Mercury's retrograde. So it's all in there, and I'm very, very proud of the work. It's taken me 7 years, massive deep dive. But yes, so that is the book, and thank you for allowing me to speak about it.
Okay, sure. Congratulations, first of all. I'm so curious about the book. I think that is pretty interesting and that will help lots of people. And it's great that not just sun sign you involve like Saturn Uranus cycles. So that's amazing. I'm so curious to read about it. So I will check for that definitely. So congratulations for your hard work. Okay.
Thank you so
All right. So yeah, it's great to be with you here. So now let's get into Black Moon Lilith in Leo. First, we can talk about briefly about Black Moon Lilith. So we know from mythology, so her story, so she's about like powers, overpowering, dominating female powers, and it's also related to rivalry, jealousy, and this type of things. So is there anything that you would like to add on Black Moon Lilith? So in general, how do you see that?
Yes, well, I mean, I guess Black Moon Lilith is all about the shadow and the shadow self. She is the independent woman. She's the rebellious woman. She's the wild woman that cannot be tamed. And yet, I feel that through these shadows, we can really access that sense of empowerment. And I feel in life, we do need to move through those shadows in order to arrive at that place and claim our power. So, being a Sagittarius rising, I'm inclined to look at it through an optimistic lens. But it's not so much fun and light and levity when you're moving through those shadows. But once you arrive at the end, the reward is so very rich with Black Moon Lilith and where she's placed in the chart.
Exactly. So I feel that people who are into Black Moon Lilith are ready to explore their dark side. So
Yeah.
like you will see some truth and about yourself, and it can happen both ways with Black Moon Lilith. So like thank you so much. And we said that it's dark shadow side, but Leo is the sun, Leo is the light. So how these two merge? So what do you think?
Yeah, well, that's a really interesting perspective. I mean, I guess with Leo, Leo is also about love. You know, Leo's about creativity. Leo's about children. So how does this align with the shadow? All these, as you mentioned, these beautiful sort of light aspects. But I guess where there is light, there is always shadow. It's, you know, the yin and the yang, the day and the night. We always need to have both in order to, for one to illuminate or to reveal the other. So I think for me, if you'd like me to share some views on how Lilith in Leo has worked for me in my life. Excuse me. Well, firstly, you know, and let's just dive right in at the deep end. You know, I've thought about this and I thought, oh, do I really want to go there? Do I really want to talk about this personal experience? But I feel that it is so connected to this placement, and that Black Moon Lilith is all about diving into the deep and the ugly and the shadow parts of ourselves that we would prefer often to keep hidden, especially someone like myself who has the sun in the 6th house, who likes to present very perfectly. So it is, you know, although I can access those depths, it is often difficult for me to convey them publicly. But here we go. So firstly, with Lilith in Leo being about love, for me, this really translated as an experience with a narcissistic relationship. That was a 22-year, there's a 22 master number, relationship and a marriage with children. And what I can say about that is that obviously that was an incredibly difficult period in my life. But the beauty in that, and the beauty of how Black Moon Lilith worked for me, is that I really had to go through that process of experiencing that dark period and turning into that and delving into that in order to come out and tap into that rebellious side of myself, you know, that Lilith so represents, that rebellious woman that says, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. I'm not going to take this anymore. But boy, it took, the first 10 years of the relationship was wonderful. And then certain triggers occurred, like the birth of my child, that sort of triggered that narcissism. So then the last really kind of 11 years were very, very dark for me. But I really had to access Lilith's rebellious side and say at the end of that 11 years, you know, and say, enough is enough, and step into my power. It was really interesting that even my appearance changed. And I know this is more of a Lilith in the 1st house, but it's so layered, right? So this also reflected in my outward appearance. I had a very perfect little bob haircut that my ex would always tell me, you know, it's not quite right. Keep it perfect, you know, flimsy hair. And then in leaving that relationship, it was symbolized externally for me. I grew my hair, you know, I really embraced that wild woman Lilith, who cannot be tamed. And I embodied that in my own life. And what I can tell you is, boy, the freedom, you know, the independence, I was ready for it after 11 years. As I said, it wasn't easy. I didn't just, you know, make that decision overnight. It was an 11-year decision, and I really had to delve into those shadows and go to that very dark place. But at the end of that, it was extremely empowering, and that really led to my work with my my astrology work. And I think if I had not have gone through that experience, I would not be doing the work that I'm doing today. My ex wasn't very supportive of that. And, but I needed to be in a place within myself where I was accessing Lilith's power in order to reflect that in my work. And in fact, Lilith also happens to be conjunct my MC, which is the career point in the chart.
Wow, so amazing story. So you kind of summarized the basic things about Black Moon Lilith. And in the beginning, you said it's yin and yang. So like you saw the darkness in someone and it kind of activated the light in you. So yeah, they operated differently. So maybe being with narcissist also help you claim your ego, claim your like respect, and claim your power. So that can also be about Leo theme. And I love the detail about hair, Leo hair. So because like it's about how you express yourself, like personally, hair, physical appearance. So with Lilith and Leo, so the physical appearance will be pretty important there, I believe. So the style.
Leo rules the hair. Leo
Yes,
does rule the
exactly.
hair. And it also rules the confidence, as you mentioned accurately, with the ego. But a healthy ego is someone who is confident with that, and that's what the sun represents. The ego, the life force, the vitality, the feeling of I deserve to take up space in this world. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So that will be about the keyword ego. So the first keyword is ego with Black Moon Lilith. So it can also happen two ways. For example,
Yeah.
with Black Moon Lilith in Leo, maybe we can see some huge ego sometimes, like in
Yeah.
general, if we think about. So that ego will be tamed through relationships. So I believe so. Also, it can also be about self-growth. So maybe there are some people here who think that, okay, 10 years ago I was like egoistical, but now I'm aware of my dark side, so I grow on that. So ego might be a key theme here. So how would you like to add that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's a really good point. And I think, the Black Moon placement really helps us look at that ego. And there have certainly been times when I've had to look at my ego and question, am I in this for the right reasons? Am I simply pursuing, particularly with my work? And as I mentioned, the midheaven is triggered here. Is my work about my ego, being on TV, speaking about astrology, in the media, or am I pursuing that true calling that helps me express that divine feminine energy? And also, when you talk about the sun rules Leo. For me, the sun is placed in a sixth house. So, this, as we know, that the chart is all layered and it all ties in. So I feel that my calling is to be of true service to humanity. But then is that service linked and shrouded and misaligned sometimes with the ego? Because we know that, the ego can be that voice on our shoulder that can lead us down unhealthy paths. So yes, I agree with you. We have to be constantly mindful with Lilith in Leo that we are expressing our ego in a healthy way rather than allowing us to be led down unhealthy paths.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
for that, like Leo, is the central sign, is the sun, sign of the sun. So with Moon in Leo, for example, we can see some focus on talents. So I also did in this series for Moon in Leo. So they talked about the competition regarding talents, and I have to be the first one. So I think we might also see that with Black Moon in Leo. So there might be some competition, maybe, and there might be some desire to, let's say, be the first, be at the center. So to get the light, that Black Mullet is also the inner motivation. So maybe like it's a psychological placement, I believe, in my opinion, and I think you think that way too. So maybe
Yes.
someone I think might the second point is competition. So with Black Mullet in Leo, and there might be some competition like in motivation, but someone might not be aware of that. So I also kind of think about it that way now. So how would you like to add regarding rivalry, competition?
Yes, competition. I mean, I guess that certainly does tie in with the ego. I
Yes.
think when we remove ego from the situation, the element of competition becomes less important, and it's more about just expressing yourself for the sake of expressing yourself and what you want to say and what you want to do in the world and how you wish to shine your light in the world. And you're really running your own race, because when you're doing that in a healthy way, you're not worried about what everybody else is doing, nor should you. And you wish well for everyone. In fact, in an ideal world, and if you're completely void of ego and therefore completely void of competition, you want everybody to rise to the same level as you. So the competition becomes annulled almost. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So it turns into empowerment. So you empower people who want to kind of achieve themselves and who want to succeed themselves. So I think that competition is, yeah, canceled there. Good point. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
And I think, when the true gift of being a leader, and Leo is the leader. Well, it might have some competition there with Aries, but Leo loves to lead and is born to lead. Although I have another side of Leo that I'm very familiar with, which is the shy side, but we won't get into that right now. But then I think a true leader is really someone, and a good leader is someone who not only, leads through uh, um, forcefully implying rules or directing others, but a true leader is someone who empowers others to also make the decisions and rise to their highest potential.
Yeah, exactly. So also this 13 will be for me trend setting. So Leo is a very interesting sign. I also have Leo sun. So for that, especially I see 4,000 Leo, 8,000 Leo, 12,000 Leo, and Black Moon Lilith in Leo might be the same. So they might be like the hidden trendsetters. So there will be some curiosity about them, what they are doing, what they are up to. So Leo is also about popularity. So some people, many people believe that Leo's like attention, Leo's like publicity, but Black Moon Lilith in Leo is kind of a dark repressed energy. So how does this kind of deal with popularity, recognition? So as you also have MC and Leo, so I'm curious about that.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about the MC and Leo. And I think that, the birth chart shows not just the person, the personality, the traits and the characteristics. The birth chart also shows and reveals our lives, the interactions that we have, our relationships, the people in our lives that make an impact. So for me, having Lilith at the MC, yes, it brings that popularity in, but there's a very deep shadow side to that. And of course, that is also experienced by myself on a deep level where I'm, questioning and probing and dealing with incredible anxiety and fears and self-doubt in my work. And sometimes I do feel as though I'm put on that platform and I feel that imposter syndrome, so life and the birth chart is saying you've got this, because of course I've got the Leo midheaven and I've got the Leo moon as well. So life does sort of put me out there, but then that Lilith does draw me back into the shadows and say, but I'm not up for the task, and it questions that Leo confidence. But I've gone off on a tangent there, as I do as a Gemini, but just referring back to, reflecting the life. With the MC and with that platform that I have, I've also just become the astrologer for the Channel 7 News here in Australia, which is, as an astrologer, such an enormous honor, because I'm not sure if this is being done anywhere else in the world where astrology is being presented on such a mainstream platform as the primetime news. I'm literally in between the sport and the weather. And my point here is that being put out in that Leo way, in that, in that glorious sun-ruled way, out on that platform with all that popularity, has also attracted externally a lot of darkness. In the press, there was a lot of pushback with this position that I took on, and a lot of hate. And, I found myself in an unfamiliar position where I was being attacked for being simply an astrologer. But I guess this is to be expected because the people in that massive mainstream arena, astrology is not everybody's cup of tea. And generally we speak to people who are interested in astrology, but in this mainstream way, I'm speaking to millions of people and that aren't into astrology. So what I'm saying is this is Lilith has attracted this darkness and the shadow side of people who, you know, and the keyboard warriors who feel compelled to express their dark thoughts on astrology, and being referred to, you know, as a scammer because you're an astrologer, from people who don't understand truly what astrology is about, and they mix up the interpretation with you know other modalities in the metaphysical field, perhaps. So my point is that with that midheaven placement, the Black Moon Lilith, yes, in Leo, it's put me out there on this shiny platform, but it has attracted a lot of doubt and darkness and hate from being popular, I guess, in that industry.
Exactly. So this is an amazing story. So I was just thinking about jealousy and rivalry, and you explained that. So like you get all this negative attack and negative, let's say jealousy maybe. So I think behind that it also lies jealousy because like you are on public mainstream TV. So as a professional, and it is also about how to deal with that. So perfect. And then when it comes to that jealousy, I think it also helped you empower yourself and claim your identity as a professional, not as a, let's say, scammer or liar and so on. So, and yeah, you also, let's say, for when I'm thinking about you, like you have an established business and book and like established, let's say, identity as an astrologer. So that helped you claim that identity even more. So maybe if you were not that attacked or criticized or targeted, so you will be okay. You will kind of maybe change your mind. Maybe you will do something in life, something else in life. But now you get the attack, like Leo will be more passionate, I believe. So when it faces that attack and jealousy. So yeah, that's a cool story for that. And
Yeah,
for the
and thank you for that.
yeah,
Thank you for that beautiful perspective. Absolutely. And I'm, you know, absolutely, I'm ready to step into that more confident role and say, no, astrology has something to offer,
yes,
and it is valuable and it is valid. And so I feel like, you know, a mouthpiece for astrology, which is very Leo, but you're absolutely right in, you know, possibly I would have just coasted along without having to need to do that. So yeah, thank you for that.
yeah, welcome. And for the viewers, for example, who might go through the same or similar situation, that attack or target, jealousy, rivalry. So how do you advise them to cope with it? So how can they absorb the situation, for example? So
Yes, that's, you know, I mean, that's a tough question because everybody deals with these things in their own way. And I would just suggest, initially you have to delve into the shadow. You can't skip through it. You know, it's almost a very Scorpion energy too, isn't it? We have to go through the fire in order to be reborn on the other side. So initially I would say, you know, look at it and don't be afraid to dive in and to dive deep, to look at if you are receiving attack, if you are receiving hate, if you are in a situation where you're feeling threatened, look at it, dive in. Don't be afraid to embrace the shadow. And it's not just embracing your shadow. It's about, in doing that, you embrace somebody else's shadow. And then that in turn helps you create the empathy that you need to find the forgiveness. And through that, then you move through, because we can't push it aside and rise above if we haven't really done the work. And Lilith is very much about doing the shadow work. So that's probably what I would advise. And in doing that, then default, you become empowered. You can't really just decide to become empowered and then step up to empowerment. You really have to get your hands a little bit dirty. And Lilith loves a bit of, you know, she loves that.
exactly, yeah, you should get your hands dirty and you should face the darkness with that. And
Yeah.
yeah, dark sides in you, dark sides in people. So you should be courage, like full of courage in a way. Thank you so much. So I think these stories summarize everything. So that's why I love talking with astrologers. and sharing our personal stories and so on. Thank you so much. And I'm like done with my questions, but I just want to ask you if we missed anything. Is there anything that you would like to add on Black Moon Lilith in Leo?
I would like to share something about children, because Leo is very much about children. And I think that, having this placement makes you a fierce mother, that fierce lioness mother, very protective, and very, very loving towards your children. But I guess there's also the shadow side of that where you can go a little bit overboard and become too protective of your children. So my advice would be to love with all that beautiful fierceness, absolutely, but just be mindful of not trying to overpower your children with your ideas and ideals, and expectations. But then for me, just personally, I resonate with this because Lilith is also connecting to Ceres, which is the asteroid, the parent-child asteroid in the chart. Now it connects as a trine, so that's a lot easier. And I do have, I mean, no mother will say it's been all easy with their children, but I do have a beautiful relationship with my children. But then there has been a lot of difficulty and challenge and shadow around being a mother as well. And one of those things was I did experience a stillborn son. And so therein lies, the shadow side of Leo as a mother, and having to work through that. In a way, it sounds really strange, but it was also empowering because my placement is in the ninth house. The ninth house is the higher mind, very much about spiritual beliefs. So through that very dark experience, I had to question my spiritual beliefs. And in doing that, on the other side of that, I felt incredibly at peace and empowered. So that was yet another Lilith life experience that astrology gave to me in order to, I guess, just to add to that patchwork of empowering steps in my life, but through a very difficult time.
Okay, so it's a very touching story. Sorry for your loss, but as you said, it kind of made you evolved and made you who you are,
Yeah.
basically. So that's a good connection with Black Moon and children. So yeah, we can see the protection over children, especially as a mother, with that placement. That's a good one.
And
Uh,
I wanted to share that here today specifically because I know people are going to be watching that have been through that experience. And I just hope that that gives them some strength, some of that beautiful Leo strength to get through that experience.
Exactly. So the strength that will be within, so that will be discovered within. So Leo is the character and the sun, basically. So that's a good story. Okay. So thank you so much, Natasha. So I'm kind of talked about everything I want to talk about. So, but if you have any topics, of course, that you would like to discuss, we can go on. So I love the discussion so far. I don't want to close.
Oh, that's so what a beautiful compliment. Thank you so much. I think we've covered it. I think
Yeah.
we've covered Lilith in Leo, ninth house,
Uh-huh.
midheaven, trine Ceres for me. Oh, it is also, I also happen to have Lilith square my Mercury.
Uh-huh.
Um, so, we talk about going deep, and also with the ninth house being the higher mind, Mercury being, the mind and the way we communicate. This, I go very deep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Thank you so much.
yeah, with me, there's no there's very little superficial talk, and which is interesting because being a Gemini sun, um, people might expect that I like that, surface level talk, and that's fine. But I pretty quickly get into the deep stuff. I cut straight to the chase, and I think that's very much due to that Lilith placement in the ninth house and square the Mercury.
Yeah, definitely. So it is about some depth. And now I'm also like inspired about something. I had a friend who had Black Moon Lilith in Leo, and when she was in high school, she was composing songs and she wanted to be a singer. So, but everybody kind of was too hard on her. No, you have no talent, you won't make it, and then she kind of gave up on that. So, yeah, for that, it can also be something that in my mind because Leo can be about talents. So there might be such, let's say attacks or such criticism maybe on talents, on gifts that people can have. So it is also similar to your story. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And another point I was going to make about Lilith in Leo was the creativity, which, as you mentioned, has to do with the talents. But we do have to go through the shadow in order to access them. And while they may be innate, natural talents, in order to allow them to shine in that sun-ruled way, yes, we do need to go through the shadows, and that would possibly mean facing the criticism, or even just pure self-doubt. You know, maybe other people are saying you're so talented, and yet that Black Moon Lilith, that shadow placement in Leo, the Leo part wants to shine. And it has the talent and creativity to do so, but then the darkness of the Black Moon, you know, subdues that, and I think the criticism externally was potentially only a trigger for this person, your friend, to start that role of self-doubt. Yes, they're right. Yes, I'm not good enough. I'm not talented enough. I didn't hit that note. That is where the real power lies, in our own minds. Because if she had have had the self-confidence of the Leo sun, she would have been, that criticism would have rolled off her, you know, like water off a duck's back. But she took that on board, absorbed that darkness. So therein and again, we need to delve into the shadows, look at them, and then move past. And unfortunately, at that time for her, I'm so sorry to hear, because I love art. I was a dancer, ballet dancer myself, back in the day. So yes, with all that Leo, and I sang as well. So I love art in any form, painting, music, dancing, all of it. But possibly for her, there are other factors in her chart that she was called to express.
Probably. So yeah, she found her own way. She's happy now, but yeah, that could have been great. Okay then. So for that, if you have this placement, do not get discouraged and follow your passions. So we can end
Yes,
that.
yes, ride through the darkness, ride through it, embrace it. Yeah. And you know, it's to be a real creative as well. A lot of creatives do, they're comfortable in the darkness. They need to access that part of themselves in order to draw from that talent well, and that creativity. And that's often where a lot of beautiful music comes from, and dance expression, and poetry. You know, a lot of our greatest artists are very familiar with their darkness. Mm,
Exactly. So
yeah.
that will be a big source of inspiration. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Natasha. I love the discussion and thank you so much for your time. And I think that will be pretty helpful and enlightening for the viewers who watch us. So thank you so much for being here. And any final comments, words?
Thank you very, very much for having me. It's been a delight to speak with you. Yes, thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, welcome. And anytime I would love to repeat that. So thank you so much again. And this is the end of the video, viewers. And if you like the video, please subscribe because there will be more. So see you next time. Take care and goodbye.